You fall in love with who you get to be around them, beside them, through the relationship. And so being with your partner, they drive you crazy, and then you have to build a muscle. You get to keep the muscle. You don't go, oh, it's not fair. How come I always have to lift the weights and you never do? Well, let them get flabby and you become an athlete.
This is the Illuminate podcast, and I am your host, Rebecca Boatman. I am fascinated with human relationships, from going on first dates to understanding attachment styles and how our personal spiritual mission plays a big role in all of it. I created this podcast to invite you into conversations with inspiring leaders and I, as we explore different topics surrounding dating, relationships, money, and spirituality. Before we start, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And my one ask, and a great way that you can contribute to the podcast, is to leave a 5-star review. And now let's jump in. Today's episode is with Annie Lalla, who has an honors science degree in biology and philosophy, a minor in Buddhism. Her studies include evolutionary psychology, integral theory, spiral dynamics, intergenerational family systems, and therapeutic sexuality, with professional certificates in coaching, NLP, and clinical hypnosis. Her tools extend to metaphoric narrative role play and interacting with clients at their highest selves. In her coaching, she helps people attract, create, and foster extraordinary connections that maximize freedom and minimize shame. She works with 2 types of people: singles who are done with dating and ready to find their partner, and couples who want to resolve conflicts that erode their connection. And now let's dive in. You work with so many of my close friends, and they rave about you all the time.
So great.
And so I have so many things I want to talk to you about that are all over the place, like not related, and I'm sure
Totally.
related.
Let's just random.
Okay, awesome. So I just made a list of questions.
Perfect.
And okay, so first one is there such thing as too much transparency with your partner?
Too much transparency with your partner. First, let me say the idea that I want to distinguish transparency and honesty.
Okay.
Okay. And, okay, let me see how to say that again. In general, I believe being as honest as possible allows you to be fully seen. And so when someone says they love you, then you actually believe it. Because you're never going to really believe they love you if you don't show them everything. So that's one piece that's important. Transparency to me is how much of your inner reality you make available to the other person. Now, I aim for as much as possible, and there's a kind of a discrimination about when and how you give feedback, right? If your partner's about to go up and give a talk, you're not going to say, hey, your shirt looks weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not the right color. There's timing and context sensitivity. So while you want to aim to optimize for maximal transparency with your partner, I think you want to weigh, is the thing I'm about to say going to add to the self-esteem, the dignity, the grace of the other person or not in this moment? And most of the time, transparency or honesty is just you vomiting up some stuff that you want to share that actually has ulterior motives. It's not in service of either them or the relationship.
Yeah. What would some examples of those ulterior motives be that you see?
Often transparency or honesty is smuggled aggression. It's an opportunity
This is so good.
to just go, yeah, well, you smell, right? You don't do X, Y, and Z. I can't think of a specific one, but here's how you know. When someone gives you a piece of feedback with their heart open from a place of love, you feel edified. You feel loved more than the little piece of feedback. When someone's trying to smuggle aggression and just go, well, I'm just being honest, you feel contracted. That's basically it is. When someone talks to you, you just ask yourself, when any voice is talking to you, do I feel contracted or expanded after the interaction? And then you trust that.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if you feel contracted, it's because some part of the intentionality on the communicator wasn't fully heart open. So you can say anything with your heart fully open and someone can handle it.
And receive it because they feel that openness.
Because it's trustable.
Yeah.
You see, speaking an idea or a piece of information with your heart closed means it's not the full truth.
Yeah.
When your heart's open and your mind's open, then it's a trustable utterance.
Yes.
But anytime I hear someone talk to me, including my husband, or a voice in my head, if the tone has heart-closed energy, I take the data and I put it on a shelf and I go, not trustable. I don't
Before
care
you
who,
share something.
Just-
or when you receive something.
just when I'm
both.
receiving something. Like, how many times have you heard something that makes you contract?
Yeah.
So the question to ask is, was the person who's speaking it, was their heart open?
Mhm.
And if their heart was open, I trust the content.
Yeah.
And if their heart was closed, I go, oh, hello, content, you're interesting. I'll put you on a shelf in my mind, but I'm not going to swallow you and take you on as true.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Wow. It's like I'll taste this and I digest it and maybe look at it, but I'm not going to internalize it until I'm
I'm not even going to ingest it.
Yeah.
Literally, the stuff my husband
Wow.
says when he's angry, and I'm just like, hello, data. Definitely projection from your childhood. Love you. Putting that on the shelf. So I'm not going to take it personally. That took years.
So why not the garbage inside the shelf?
Because there could be some truth in it. But I'm not going to listen and take on that truth until you say it again from a place of relaxed, calm, grounded, heart open. You might say the same goddamn thing, but this time I can feel your intention behind it.
Yeah.
And I can feel love and I can feel truth. And now I'll let it in. Even if it's an awkward, uncomfortable truth.
Yeah.
I have the capacity to let it in because I feel that the love around it is stronger than the piece of feedback. If you're going to give someone a difficult piece of feedback, they have to feel that you love them and this thing is true, but your love for them is bigger than this thing. Right? I'm really frustrated with you right now. That was my favorite vase. I'm frustrated that it's broken. I love you way more than the vase, and I love you way more than I'm angry, but I'm goddamn frustrated.
That's so sweet. Wow. So now I'm thinking, okay, my mind's going, when have I moved forward in smuggled aggression, and what are some good cues for me to then bring more awareness to then pause and not react in such a way? So I guess it would simply be breathing, checking in with how am I feeling? What is my intention behind saying this? What are some tangible things that we can hold on to?
Is the thing I'm about to say going to open and expand the heart of the other person I'm about to say it to?
Yeah.
That's it. Think of everything you say as, when I'm talking, I try to ask myself, is my words touching their ears the way a feather would touch a baby's face? Or are my words sharp, tight, biting? Just listen to literally the voice tone that you're saying it in. Is the voice tone saying, I love you and I have some data for you? Or is the voice tone saying, hey, you're bad and wrong. Hey, you're not a good person, or you're a loser. Is there shame?
Yeah.
So smuggled aggression is usually smuggled shame. You should be something different. So a should is a could with shame smeared on top. That's what the SH is for. So I just notice, when am I shoulding?
Yeah.
Because I could say, hey, hon, you could go to the gym right now. Feel how that feels. You should go to the gym right now. It's got a domination energy to it.
The should versus the could.
Yes. Change all your shoulds into coulds.
Yeah.
Even when you talk to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I could go to the gym. I should go to the gym. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And none of us want to be dominated.
Yeah.
So I would look for whether you're smuggling shoulds in your feedback, in your conversation. Also ask, I'm a mom, so I'm always running through this filter. This other person I'm talking to is someone's child. Would I want someone to say this to my child? So anything you're about to say, just go, would this make a child feel relaxed and loved and important, or contracted?
Yeah.
So I just imagine the person as a child instead of a grown-up. And then I go, how would I have to say it if I was speaking to a child to conserve their dignity and keep their self-esteem intact?
Yeah.
And that's practice.
Yeah. And then I can imagine the response is very different from your partner, or when you say things, oh, like you could, or you pause and you don't, send aggression in the shoulds and in the tone of voice and what you're
exactly. And this is hard work because we get frustrated with our partners. But I've made it into this little metaphor. So most feedback we give to our partner is in the form of what I call WTF. Okay, which stands for what the fuck. It's got what the fuck energy, right? It's got smuggled shame, blame, make wrong, something's wrong with you. Even if you don't say what the fuck, it's
felt.
Did you leave the car door unlocked again? Did you forget to thaw the chicken? Or like there's grumble in it. So if you could take all your WTFs and translate them into what I call MLK. MLK stands for Martin Luther King. And if any human in the world had the reason and justification to be what the fuck, it was him. But he didn't.
Yeah.
Right? He said, I have a dream about a future where X, Y, and Z happens. And he turned a grumble, complaint, frustration into an inspirational invitation to our greatness. And if you could take all your complaints and turn them into a motivational, inspirational invitation to your partner's greatness, well, they'll be inspired to take it on.
Yeah.
Right? They see you standing for something beautiful. So instead of, did you leave the dishes in the sink again? I see a future where you walk into the kitchen and you realize you're part of the team and you take the dishes and you put them in the dishwasher because you know that will please your wife.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not that you have to say it like that, but just translate your WTFs into MLKs and your partner will listen way more.
Okay, so I love the example that you just gave and the words on it. Now I'm thinking about the person who is struggling with actually getting their energy behind seeing the possibility. So, and I know that's so important.
That's really important.
What would you share to that?
Okay, so most of the time we're in what the fuck energy because we're angry. We're frustrated, we're dysregulated, we're overwhelmed, we're triggered, okay? So you can't speak an inspirational speech from a triggered state. So we have to go from trigger to calm, grounded adult self. How do you get there? You time travel. This is the best move. You time travel. So a trigger actually means that you have been reminded of a moment in your history where you had once felt this feeling that you're feeling now for the first time. So a trigger is actually time traveling you from the present moment where you're an adult self into a young 4, 5, 6-year-old version of yourself where you had pain or anguish or trauma around this situation and you had this feeling and you didn't know what to do with it. So every time you have that feeling, you're taken back to this regressed younger self. That's what a trigger is, right? Don't we act like a little kid? Okay, so a trigger is when you regress to your younger self. So the only way to get back from your younger regressed self to the present moment that I have ever found is self-regulation. Self-regulation, right, is a set of tools that involve the body and breathing that literally time travel you back from regressed young self who's having a tantrum or a conniption, and it brings you back into the present moment in your adult body where you have all the tools and technologies that you've learned as an adult now in your pocket to help strategize. How could I say this in a way that inspires the other person to see that I'm standing for their greatness and that I'm inviting them to the next level of their self?
Yeah.
But you can't do that if you're not at the highest level of yourself. So if you're regressed, you're in a triggered young 4-year-old self, you're going to find, the most whiny, complaining, suboptimal way to represent it.
Yeah.
If you can breathe, regulate yourself, take a deep breath, wiggle your fingers and toes, do any kind of meditative process, go for a walk, go to the gym, anything that gets you in your body and out of your mind will time travel you back to the present moment, because the present moment is tuned into through your senses and through your breath. So if you want to be in the present moment, which is where you have your most resource, where you'll have the highest likelihood of saying something in a way that's sophisticated enough that you could sign your name to it, then you need to know how to create safety in your body using your breath, which is all the self-regulation tools.
Yeah.
So here's the move. Your partner says something, you get triggered. You regress to younger self and you feel angry, frustrated, and overwhelmed. If you're angry, frustrated, and overwhelmed, you're by definition dysregulated. You're not in the present moment. You're triggered. So you got to time travel back to the present moment. Then in this present moment, you go, what would be the most inspiring, beautiful way I could express this, as if they were a little child and they were hearing this for the first time and I wanted to conserve their dignity and their self-esteem. And I'm not saying that's easy. That's hard work. I teach this and I only get it right 60% of the time at my best.
I love how you just raised your voice, dude, just so y'all know.
I'm just like, I fuck this up all the time.
Yeah.
But at least I know what I need to do if I had to do it.
Yeah. and you have the tools and the resources and the understanding, and now everyone listening does as well. Okay, so I'm thinking this relates to my next question. Is I'm like, oh, I feel like you're already answering the next question because it would apply to this. One thing that I'm working on is I notice there's a level of codependency where I'm checking in and I'm going, is he mad? Is he mad? Is he mad? Because I'm like afraid of anger.
Yes,
and
that's my history too.
So so now I'm like, okay, like you can feel right. And then the moment I see he's in a great, I'm like I feel like relief. I'm like, but then my nervous system and my safety and me feeling good is reliant on his mood, which doesn't.
And that's most people in relationship. Honestly, as a love coach, everybody's codependent. I haven't met a couple that isn't codependent. It's just, it flip-flops back and forth. And it's like, as you cross-train each other, you get less and less codependent.
As you what? Cross-train?
Cross-train.
Oh, tell me more.
So basically, every couple that I've seen that's successful long-term has two sacred polarities that are being honored. It's not male and female. It's one partner, one sacred polarity is optimizing for independence, autonomy, separateness, individuality, and sovereignty. That's the self-oriented sacred polarity. And the other polarity is someone who's standing for the importance of connection, integration, communion, ushood, we. That's the focused on other. So it's selfing and othering. One's attuned to self and one's attuned to other. The more empathic one is attuned to other. So I've noticed all successful relationships has these two polarities. You obviously are empathic, and you're attuned to your partner's feelings. And when they're upset or contracted or angry, you respond in kind. And you know why, because they're your attachment figure. And like as a child, when your parents are scared or angry, you go scared and angry. So that's just when you fall in love, your attachment dynamic ports right over from your parent onto your romantic partner. So even though they're your partner, your nervous system codes them as your parent. And what do you use your parents for? To soothe you, make you feel safe, do all the things to make you feel better. As you should have once you were 0 to 4 or whatever. But as a grown-up adult, your partner is not expecting you to see them as the source of all your safety. In fact, they want you to make yourself feel safe so they don't have the burden of it. So now what we were talking about, you were checking in with your partner to see, are they angry? Are they angry? So that used to be my life, literally. Tracking, is my husband in particular, is he upset with me? Because if they're upset with me, then something's wrong, then I have to fix it. I can't relax until someone else's nervous system is safe. So what's interesting about that is so I want to feel safe, but I can't feel safe until my partner feels safe.
But then you're feeling unsafe and then projecting that unsafe probably.
Well, yes. And what's interesting is I'm trying to get to feeling safe, but I'm doing it through the scenic route of going through my partner's nervous system.
Yeah.
So if I can get them to feel happy and safe, then I can relax. Well, why don't I just go direct to my nervous system? It's in my body. Yeah. So that's what self-regulation is, going directly to your nervous system and trying to generate safety there. But this thing you're picking up is actually something more subtle. It's you, and I'm going to be cheeky saying this, it's you trespassing on your partner's consciousness. So what's happening is you're floating up out of your body, unconsciously disassociating, and you're floating over into their brain trying to look in and micromanage, well, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Maybe I can make them feel this way so that I don't have to feel contracted. And you're actually energetically over up in their business, trying to make them feel a certain thing so that you can relax.
Yeah.
It's an intrusion.
Yeah.
It's actually an intrusion. Once I realized that that's what I was doing with my family, I was basically all up in their business trying to make them feel a certain way just so I could relax. I realized, oh my God, it literally is trespassing. So what I do now when I feel stressed out because my daughter or my husband's upset, I do this whole process where I unenmesh in the moment. So this is what I do. I notice I'm dysregulated or anxious, and I go, oh my God, that means I have someone else's energy, thoughts, expectations in my space. So my husband's upset, and I'll feel tight.
Yeah.
And then I realize, oh, I have his upset in my space, which is what empaths do. They take on other people's feelings, and then they feel them. And that doesn't help anyone, by the way. Me feeling my husband's anger doesn't help him because it's an emotion that belongs to him, and it doesn't help me because you cannot digest someone else's feelings. They were made by that person's nervous system. They need to be felt by their nervous system. You can digest all of your feelings, but you can't digest someone else's. So what I do in that moment is I go, I recognize I'm overwhelmed, so I'm enmeshed, and I breathe in and I call back all Annie's little bits of consciousness back into myself. So I imagine my little consciousness in little particles that are floating over in my husband's mind, trying to micromanage him. And I call them back. Come back home. So I call them back. As I breathe in, all those particles come floating back, and I see them float into the top of my head and situate themselves behind my eyeballs. It's like I'm calling my bits back.
Oh, behind your eyeballs.
Yeah. So imagine your partner feels angry or upset, or you're not sure. You take a breath and then you close your eyes and you imagine all the particles of your being and consciousness coming back, floating in back into your body and situating behind your eyes in your head. This is with my eyes closed. And I do that with 3 breaths, calling them all back. And then I open my eyes and then I look out through my eyes from behind with all my particles in place. So Annie has come back home into my body and now I'm looking out at my partner from that space. Now, the trick is whenever you take on someone else's feelings or emotions, it's always a trade. So what I mean is you're taking on their feelings, but you're taking on their feelings, but you've also put some feelings in their space.
Of yours.
Yes.
Wow.
You're trying to get them to be different. You're trying to get them to like you. You're trying to get them to approve of you. So it's like this. I'll take on your anger and frustration if you'll love and approve of me. That's the contract that's happening. Can you see how you're like, will you love and approve of me? And then you won't be angry and then I'll be safe?
Yeah.
So we do this with parents all the time too. We try to like take on their feelings so that they love us. But the truth is you can't digest their feelings and they're not going to love you any more or less. So as I call in all my bits back so that I'm not over in their space trying to manipulate them, so I take my energy back and I give them back all of their anger, their shame, their frustration. So I do it like this. In breath, calling all my bits back, out breath, letting go of all of their stuff that's in my space, and I'm seeing it float back to them.
Yeah.
I literally unenmesh energetically whenever I feel overwhelmed. Sometimes I don't even know whose it is. So what I do is I go, all of my clients, everybody I've been talking to in the last 2 days whose energy might be in my space, I'm letting you out and I'm pulling back all my bits in. So that's what I do.
Wow.
I unenmesh.
Okay, my friends, I'm briefly pausing this episode to invite you to something very special. If you are ready to access bravery and to challenge your current sense of self and to step into and embody your new sense of self, one that is a frequency match for the partnership, for the things, for the life that you desire, then I invite you to explore my Meet the Frequency membership that is full of powerful step-by-step workshops to help you become a frequency match for the life that you desire. The link is in the description below, and you can use code ILLUMINATE for $20 off. And now back to the episode. What's also maybe the gift that you're giving in partnership when you do this practice as well?
Okay. Well, first, your partner will stop feeling like you're trying to make them feel something, which feels like a manipulation.
Yeah.
They will feel the beauty and the love and the dignity of you allowing them to feel their feelings exactly as they are.
Yeah.
If they're sad, they're allowed to be sad. If they're angry, their anger is safe with you.
Yeah.
Humans never get to feel like their sadness, their anger, their despair is welcome anywhere, especially at home with their parents. So what they're looking for in a romantic relationship is what they're looking for in a romantic relationship is my sadness welcome here? Is my anger welcome here? So you're giving them the one thing they've wanted their whole life, which is to have their emotions feel safe with you. What you're getting for yourself is you're letting go of what's not yours that's intruding in your space. Shames, guilts, obligations, responsibility to make someone feel better. This is a burden.
Yeah.
And it's not only a burden, they don't like it. A part of them likes it. A part of them wants you to take it on. But that's the weak, young, wounded part. It's not the transcendent part, their highest self. And so the benefit is your partner doesn't feel burdened by having to feel a certain way to make you feel okay.
Yeah.
And the benefit to you is you get to hygienically clean out all the programming and the responsibility for making everyone else feel better. You are actually free to what? To feel your own feelings.
Yeah.
So it's counterintuitive, but the more you feel your own feelings and let other people feel theirs, the more intimate you feel.
Mm.
It's strange, but separation produces intimacy. I don't know if you've ever braided hair.
Yeah.
So in order to braid women's hair, you have to separate it out into 2 or 3 strands that are distinct.
Mm-hmm.
The more distinct and individuated those strands or chunks of hair are, the more integrated it is.
Oh, wow.
So the more those 2 braids press up against each other. So the more differentiated you are from your partner, the more autonomous, individuated, the more connected and intimate you are when you commune. So it's counterintuitive. To separate and differentiate allows for deeper intimacy.
Oh, wow. It makes sense to me though, because I'm thinking through where I'll share with my partner when I have that recharge time, and I call it like spirit time. It's so much easier for me to be close.
Yes.
It's so much easier for me. So, okay, I had so many questions that came to mind, but one, where did it go? It'll come back to me. But we'll stay on the topic of, you said, okay, the relationships that you see are really successful are the ones where the other is one person's really advocating for the other, right? Connection. And then the other person is advocating for self.
Yes.
And I love that you brought that up, because one of the questions that I have was, how do you hold the desire to be free and the desire to connect simultaneously in partnership?
Absolutely. So these 2 values of freedom and connection or devotion, they both need to be in the relationship for it to succeed. And just a head nod, when I say selfing and othering, I mean that someone is natively attuned to their own needs, wants, and desires and boundaries. They can represent them. Yeah. They can empathize with themselves. The other person is natively attuned to the needs, wants, and desires of everyone else. They empathize with others, but they don't empathize with themselves very well. And the selfer can empathize with themselves, but they don't empathize with others very well. And in order to have a healthy relationship, you need equal amounts of selfing and othering. And a relationship is like an entity that's alive. It's breathing, and it breathes in together, communion, connection, breathes out, separation, autonomy, individuality. Together, apart. Okay? And so because both partners, one is guarding individuality and freedom, and one is guarding the us. And what you have to do is learn how to take these 2 sets of values and collaborate together. Both partners have to get curious about each other's intentions and priorities and what are they standing for, and realize that your partner's value for communion and connection is just as important as the desire for separateness, individuality, and freedom. And once you realize that the in-breath is just as important as the out-breath, you're not going to fight for one more than the other. You wouldn't argue like, it has to be all out-breath or all in-breath, right? You start to getting curious. If I'm good at connection, then I hired someone, my favorite teacher, to teach me how to do separation and individuality, and to become a willing apprentice to your partner as a teacher.
Yeah.
So your partner is probably a teacher in tuning into selfhood and their
connection, actually.
Connections. Oh, okay. So it's inverted with you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So it's loosely the woman tends to be the communion connection.
Yeah.
And the male tends to be autonomy, separation. But it can be flipped. It actually doesn't matter as long as there's one of each.
Yes.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So your partner's standing for the connection and the us time.
Yeah.
Great. And when they ask for that, do you code it as, oh God, you're interfering in my alone time? Or do you code it as, oh, for you to be asking this must mean that I'm dropping the ball on that other piece of importance?
It's interesting. I feel like I'll hit a threshold where I'll have like my capacity for connection, and I'll like love it. And I'm like, okay, I'm complete. Like and then I'm he navigates it, I would say, well, and I appreciate it, where he's like, oh, like he'll see things on TV, like, babe, look, that's you. Like we're watching, you remember Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, where they're like, oh, look, that's you. Like, okay, I've had enough. Like,
yeah,
and so I would say, and there's times when I know there's an opportunity for me to not make the connection or the desire for that wrong, and where I'll notice, like, I'll sometimes be like, I can't expand in my capacity for it.
Yeah, they both have shadows, right?
Yeah.
And the shadow is the codependent neediness. Oh my God, I need more time with you. Can we hang out? We never get enough time. And it can feel like a burden.
Yeah.
Because part of it is a healthy aspect of relationship. And part of it is his crazy, where he's needing someone else to give his moment meaning and the sense of feeling valuable and loved. And he actually needs to learn how to do that for himself, which I'm sure he's learning. So there's a shadow to the empath or the otherer, and the shadow is anxious attachment.
Yeah.
Right? But the other side, the agentic individual I-centered person, they have a shadow too. And that's the avoidant attachment. And the way they show up in conflict is one person, when they're stressed or in conflict or confused or upset, they lean in for connection. And one person tends to lean out. So in a conflict, one wants space, wants to leave the room, wants to talk about it later. And the other partner wants to keep talking about it, hug and make up, and be more glum together. They call it, the Hendricks call it the fuser and the isolator. Now, here's the deal. You have to practice the one that you're less proficient at. So I used to be the anxious attachment when it was my husband. I would be like chasing him around, literally chasing him around the house to try and talk it through, get a hug, find some love. Once I chased him through an entire hotel into the men's change room. I was just like so crazy. I was like, come on, can we talk it through? And everyone's staring at me. And he was running as if he was being stalked, like in Friday the 13th. He ran away into a cab to the airport and left. That's how much I spooked him. And as he was running into the cab, I had this epiphany. I was like, he's acting like he's terrified of me.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, he is. He's as terrified of me chasing him as I feel terrified of him running away.
Wow.
And once I realized that the terror of being abandoned when you're in a conflict, which is what I used to struggle with, that terror of, oh my God, they're going to leave, it's going to be over, the relationship's ending, look, they're walking out the door, that terror, if you copy paste that to like a clipboard in the sky, and then you paste it down into your partner, that's what they feel like when you're running after them. They're terrified of being stalked and assaulted and hunted, basically. And so if you can catch, oh my God, my partner's chasing me around. If you could track that the terror that he's feeling is the terror you feel when you're feeling overwhelmed and engulfed, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's actually exactly the same. But it's hard to believe that the thing that makes you feel safe terrifies your partner.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what's happening.
And do you think it's like a replica inside the nervous system in terms of the sensations that are going on inside your body?
Yeah, I don't want to call, you don't have to call it fear, but you could call it contracted nervous system, not feeling good.
Yeah.
But one person feels relaxed and at ease when they get space. The other person feels constracted by that. They feel relaxed and at ease when you lean over and hug them and say it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So your work, right, is your developmental path is every time you're in a conflict and you want to run and you want to close and you want to escape.
Buy a flight to Paris. Buy a flight somewhere.
Buy a flight to Paris. Your job in that moment is to remember, oh my God, my partner is terrified and they need a reassurance. So if you could say, listen, I love you. We're going to get through this. I just need to take some space to go find myself and cool down. If you could just throw in I'm really frustrated right now. I'm angry. I love you more than I'm angry. I love you more than I'm frustrated. Our relationship is bigger than this issue. Just throw a little scrap of reassurance about the future and then take your space so they know you're coming back.
About the future. I like that you say that. So something would be like, I'm not leaving the relationship. I'm not going anywhere. I just need to have a breather.
You got it. They can handle your breather all day long as they know he loves me, he's coming back. That's it. It really is just that.
Wow.
And in the opposite, what he could say, what would be the developmental move is for him to breathe through the desire to get connection and to go, you know what? I believe in us. I know we're going to be okay. And I'm just going to let you take space and I'll go occupy myself with something. And for him to generate faith in the relationship, even though you're separated.
Yeah.
Because what happens is they lose faith. They go, well, she's not here, so it's over.
Yeah.
But the relationship isn't over.
Yeah.
Right? He's just physically feeling you gone. But so if you can reassure each other about the thing, one person's worried about being abandoned. So you're saying, I'm coming back. I still love you. And the other person's worried about being engulfed. It's too much. I'm going to be sucked into this. And, you probably feel overwhelmed if there's too much attention, too much connection. And so it's engulfment versus abandonment. And so just to know that about your partner, that the thing that makes you feel safe terrifies your partner in a conflict.
Yeah.
And to do the opposite of what's instinctive in a conflict.
Yeah. So recognizing when I am in that emotion, our emotions are high. Okay. What's the opposite? Let me just, or
how can I just add a little extra love, which will then give me a chance to take a breather?
Yeah.
What was I going to say about that? Literally having a conversation with your partner and going, like, what do you need the most when, like, what could I say to you so that I could go take 5 minutes to cool down and remember our love and come back to my center? Ask him.
Yeah.
What's one line I could say to you that would be the designer line that would perfectly relax your nervous system? And he'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And there's probably a line he could say to you.
It's probably, I wonder, I'm guessing, we'll see. We'll have to come back and see. I'm guessing it would be, it's kind of cool to also guess before asking to see, oh, how much do I know? Yeah. But then to not assume and to actually ask, what are those words for you? And I would guess like a hug or something, like a hug or like just a moment, like an embrace, and then a sentence. I could just it's going to be something related to affection. And then for me, I already know it's like, oh, have as much time as you need. It's interesting because the moment someone was willing to give you as much space as you need, all of a sudden it's like your nervous system goes, as much space as I need. Okay, I'm back.
Exactly. Now, it would never occur to you, but it would never occur to him organically to say, have as much space as you need.
No.
But if he learned that, literally, if he wrote it down on a piece of paper and trotted it out in the middle of a fight, it would still work.
Wow.
It's so powerful. My husband and I actually teach this process in our workshop.
So good. I think this is what all my friends rave about too. Yeah. And okay, there's something else, but I'm gonna ask him that. I should be jotting these things down because so many things come in. But my next question is, okay, if this is kind of like a side topic that we're going down a whole nother, not even side topic, a whole nother pathway. So say you have family in your life or people who you love and they're close to you because they're family, and you experience just a lot of complaining or blaming, and you sort of struggle with that. And you want to have a loving partnership, and what's the best way to go about that?
So your partner's complaining and criticizing,
just
but your family members. So and they're around you and you want to shift the pattern.
Yes.
Okay. So most people who are complaining and bitching and whining have no clue that they're doing it.
Yeah.
If you interview their psyche, they're like, oh, I'm the victim. I'm just trying to get my life working and have them do the thing. I'm just trying to love them. They have no clue that they're whining and complaining.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing to know. What they don't realize is that when they say X, your nervous system does this. And you would think that they should know that, but probably the things that they're saying wouldn't even make their nervous system contract. So you have to report to them what's actually happening in your nervous system when they say the complaint. But you have to do that in a very particular way.
Yeah.
You have to scrape off all the shame, blame, make wrong, and grumble about the way they're doing it. Because that's the issue, is they're smuggling frustration, complaint, shame onto you when they complain, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to ask them to stop doing that, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah? So here's what you have to do.
This is the mastery right here, Annie. Oh my God.
So what you have to do is actually have the courage to open your kimono and share the raw, true experience in your nervous system that happens for you when they say that. And you have to say it in a way that's inarguable.
When I hear this.
When you said XYZ, I felt tightness in my chest. I felt sadness. I felt confusion. I felt anger. And then shut up. That's it. You just say, when you said this, I felt
so vulnerable.
Oh my God, it's the most vulnerable. But check this out. We want everyone to feel our fear and pain and sadness and change. But we don't want to feel it. We go, there's my pain and sadness over there. Can you go check it out and realize how bad it is? I ain't going there. I ain't going, but you should go.
Yeah.
Why would a partner or anyone want to go see a feeling that even you don't want to go see?
Yeah.
So that's the trick. When you're willing to be in the raw, howling agony of your pain, which takes courage, nobody wants to do it, that courage gets the payoff of that person going, oh, when I do this, you hurt. It's never occurred to them that when they do this, you hurt and how much you hurt. Because most of us aren't showing the raw pain. We're being defensive and guarded and basically angering back and saying, can't you imagine that it would be pain? They can't.
Yeah.
They have to feel it.
Yeah.
And they can't feel your pain unless you're willing to be in it
Yeah.
and report from the front lines. So that's one piece. The second thing, here's the deal. If you want someone to change in their behavior, family, friend, lover, children, you have to decide, do you want to complain about their suboptimal behavior
Mm-hmm.
and shutter off your upset and frustration onto them with shame, blame, and make wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want the behavior change?
Mm-hmm.
Because you ain't getting both.
Really quick. Okay, wait, I want to keep going, but before I forget this question, because I notice my reaction is I'll just be like, change the subject. Like, I'll just like, and I can imagine that probably also doesn't feel good for them. Like,
So you change the subject when they're
Yeah.
complaining.
yeah, because I I'm like, okay, I can't, my threat, I can't. So then so I noticed that probably doesn't feel good for them. They're probably not feeling heard and seen, but it's also like,
I think it's a good interim solution. Distraction is great.
okay,
Okay? So it's not bad. The only problem is I don't think you're making
a difference.
progress
Yeah.
in the way they dance with you.
Mm-hmm.
People talk to you and relate to you in a way that you tolerate and train them to.
Yes.
And there are other people in their life that they don't talk that way to
Yeah.
because that person doesn't tolerate it and doesn't enable it.
Yeah.
So however you're treated in your relationships, you can bitch and complain about how bad your partner is. But if you've tolerated it for days, weeks, years, you've literally trained them to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so the new move is to desist from training them by starting to make transparent to them that there's an owie every time they say that.
Yeah.
But you don't put the blame on them. You hurt me when you say that. No. When you say that, I notice I feel hurt in my body.
Mm.
I notice I feel contracted and small.
Yeah.
And then you leave it for them to go, oh, when I say this, she feels small. They can't argue with it.
Yeah.
If you say, you make me feel small when you say that, they can argue.
Yeah.
You have to own that you're creating a sensation in your body and you're just letting them know, when you say that, I feel small. They will start to realize that when they say that, you don't say you're causing me to feel small.
Yeah.
They have to make that connection themselves.
Mm.
If you point it out, they'll defend.
Yeah.
If they make the connection, then they'll change it.
They have to draw the
They
points.
have to
Okay.
draw. So it's almost like, oh my God, honey, there's blood on my hands and I got cut in the kitchen. Will you help me? Oh, sure. I'll bring the Band-Aid and the Neosporin. They're all happy to help. Then as they start asking questions, they realize that you got cut in the kitchen on the knife that they left out,
Yeah.
sticking out of the dishwasher, the wrong end up.
They'll draw the conclusion.
They have to draw the conclusion. Oh, I left the knife up. She got cut. Oh, I caused hurt to my honey.
Yeah.
If you say it, they can't see it. If they make the connection, the behavior will change.
Wow.
So it's very hard not to point it out.
Yeah. Because you're inviting the unpredictable, I feel. Or you're being willing to be in that, which it's like I feel in control if I say, hey, when you do X, Y, Z, versus if I'm showing my soft underbelly or showing, hey, this is how I feel, like that vulnerable part. It feels also unpredictable how someone may
It is unpredictable. You actually are vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah.
And vulnerability is just a special form of transparency.
Yeah.
You're just being transparent about your owie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if someone said something and you just said, ouch. I felt contracted when you said that. I don't know how they're going to argue with that.
Yeah.
How can they be anything but feel their own internal conscience?
Yeah.
So what we do is we try to shame our partner into changing. And that shame is so loud that they're busy defending. But if we just say, ow, and they can feel their endogenous internal conscience go, I hurt my honey, that conscience is what tells them to wake up. This is not who you want to be. You can't be their conscience. They have to listen to their own conscience. So you have to shut up so their conscience can whisper.
I need to put just tape over my mouth, basically, right?
Well, you just have to scrape off the shame, blame, and make wrong.
Yeah.
You have to just literally go. So that which gets us back to, you can shutter off your frustration and upset by shaming, blaming, or pointing out how the person hurt you.
Yeah.
Or you can get a behavior change in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be really clear, you do not get both. So once and nothing's wrong with either one. You can bitch and complain about all you want. You're just not going to get a behavior change.
Yeah.
When you're tired of bitching and complaining and you're seeing no progress, then I'm going to invite you over here to get an actual behavior change. And the way you do that is by taking your WTF and changing it into an MLK is by saying, when you said this, I noticed my body had this reaction. But there's no moralizing, there's no judgment, there's no shame. Yeah. There's just literally, when this happened, and you let their mind draw a conclusion.
So I'm playing off, my mind's like going in reels, right? Like it's making me think of Ho'oponopono, where they say you're either in program or you're in divine inspiration. You're either playing something from the past or you're either open for something new from the divine. And as you're sharing, I'm like, oh, this is so good. And then I also am catching that program, like, oh, we're like predicting an outcome to then go into protect and to not share. And so I'm like visiting a scenario where I, vulnerably shared, but actually I probably didn't use the words that you said that are inarguable. When I hear you say this is how I feel. I think I probably didn't use that, which would help. But in showing the rawness of the emotion, say that family member was to share like, well, it's not about you. And then it would go into defense rather than wanting to cherish, and you just feel that pain. And because it is unpredictable, what would you recommend then in that moment?
To get that you still won. Because the point of the game is not to necessarily get the person to change their behavior. The point of the game of being in divine inspiration is being maximally, authentically, in fidelity to the truth of the moment. Yeah. And whether they're going to respond amicably or not, you can know that you played that hand in a way that you can triumphantly sign your name to. It was the right play, even though it didn't get the response. Yeah. You can make the right move and still not get the dream
and maybe
response.
Feel more pain.
And maybe even get more hurt.
Yeah.
But more often than not in the game of life, you will get the right response.
Yeah.
And once in a while you won't. But it doesn't mean you want to stop playing the right move. If you smile at every stranger, every once in a while someone's going to smirk.
Yeah.
Should you stop smiling?
Or look around like, did you smile at me?
Yeah. Should you stop smiling?
Yeah. No.
Right? Because the point of relationship is to use the relationship as a dojo or a gymnasium to build your muscles. You don't fall in love with another person. You fall in love with who you get to be around them, beside them, through the relationship. And so being with your partner, they drive you crazy, and then you have to build a muscle. You get to keep the muscle. You don't go, oh, it's not fair. How come I always have to lift the weights and you never do? Well, let them get flabby and you become an athlete. When my husband doesn't do like the thing that would be optimal, I just go, well, I'm doing my workout. I'm definitely getting better at self-regulation, becoming a better woman. If the audience was watching me in the intergalactic reality TV show of my life, they's clapping for me, ain't clapping for you. That's where I go.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, you experiment with that. That feels.
Also aggression, because you have aggression when your partner and you are in conflict. I turn the aggression into a competition. And I go, okay, fucker, let's just see who can come back to I love you sooner. Let's see who can remember us. We have a code in our relationship called I remembered, which means I remember that we're in love and this is all bullshit. Yeah. And so I'm always racing to get regulated enough to say I remember before he does, so he realizes he's not as spiritually developed as me. And that's where I put my aggression. Yeah. It's a great place to put it because it's in service of connection. Yeah. So.
Oh, wow. I love that. So my last question for you. What do you, because you do such powerful work and in the relationship space and supporting people and self-regulating, what do you feel with all of our lovely listeners and everyone, and for the planet, what do you feel is your why or the connection to the collective and the greater whole of our, what we can create? And, how do you see relationship connect your service in let me reword this, Mike, put this in one sentence.
I got it.
So I'll share it and then so just chop all that. How do you see the work that you're doing in service of relationships supporting the planet as a whole?
Yeah. So I don't believe I work for my clients, the individuals. I work for their unborn children. That's who I work for. Whether they have children or they might have children, that's how I think about it. And so I'm working for the next generation to be powerful leaders that are aligned with their dharma. And the only thing that gets us off track is when we have fragments in our psyche. Where do we get fragments? Trauma, wounding. Every time one parent pulls you in this way and one parent pulls you in that way, the child's mind fragments. And so when I'm working with couples to resolve their conflict, I'm trying to help them find collaboration. I'm trying to help them find the genius in both of their different perspectives and value sets and tessellate them together into an emergent whole that's more powerful than if either of them had their own way. And so as I'm helping couples resolve their conflict, all the energy and attention that gets arrested to keep the conflict alive and to have the difference of opinion and the heart closed, I want to release that so both parents individually can have that energy online to do their dharma. And then every couple has their own purpose or dharma.
Mm-hmm.
Why should that couple exist in the world? How is it benefiting the species for these two people to be together? What value does them being together create? And so I'm always trying to make sure that the couple is creating value with their relationship, not just with their kids, but with every person they interact with. And so what I'm trying to do in terms of the greater whole of the planet is I'm trying to create a future generation that believes in true love, that has it modeled from their parents. And when they feel into every cell in their body, each cell has half the DNA from mom, half the DNA from dad. And those two pieces of DNA are coiled up together, committed, knowing that they're in love. And so if I can have people be in love and then create the future from that love, then the next generation has a strong internal sense of integrity and a triumphant ability to take on what they came to do with their life. That's what I'm trying to do.
So good, Annie. Wow. And I can speak to that in meeting baby Evalie. Yeah, one of her beautiful clients in there, baby. She's the cutest. She's so wonderful. So how can all of our listeners find you, get to know you, and work with you?
I'm online. I'm on Instagram at Lallabird, Lallabird. Yeah. And all I do is create reels with golden nuggets of content. My husband taught me to always give away your best ideas.
Yeah.
So I take my best ideas, I put them online, and I disseminate it to the world. You can check out my website, AnnieLalla.com, ANNIELALLA.com. Again, lots of videos and content there. I'm teaching a relationship coaching program where I actually take all my technology and modalities and teach relationship coaches how to create transformational breakthroughs with their clients with, all the tools I've developed over my life. I often do an intimacy workshop that I do with my husband called Love Dojo, where we teach all the cutting edge conflict resolution tools that we've learned in the laboratory of our relationship. And it's a program called Love Dojo that we offer. So yeah, just check me out and stay in the tribe, join my list.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know what's happening.
Awesome. And both of those are in the show notes, the Instagram, and then also Annie's website. So make sure you go check it out. And thank you so much. This was wonderful. And I love that you just said laboratory of the relationships, of your relationship. It reminds me that we're always learning and growing and experimenting and evolving. So yes. I appreciate
And that's the purpose of love.
Yes.
Right? To be a trampoline for your dreams and a sanctuary for your heart.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Annie.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed the episode, and you can find a ton more free tips on my Instagram under Rebecca Boatman. If you are curious about my online membership and community, you can click the link that is in the description and see the page that explains everything you get to support you on your journey to attracting and building a healthy relationship. And I hope to see you inside.